Listen, we have to talk about the substance. I love this movie. This role that you played as an actress, I'm sitting there like, this is major. This is an amazing performance. Y'all need to check this film out. I'm not surprised that it's receiving rave reviews from the critics. They love it, and it is getting Oscar buzz, which you so deserve.
Thank you.
How do you feel?
I mean, I'm still a little bit in shock and a lot of awe. I actually feel extremely, really humbled. I had no idea what to expect because it is, as you've seen, it's quite a wild ride. I mean, it's one I would really suggest if you can see it in the theaters and
you definitely
and go with someone. Don't be alone.
You want to go with someone, yes.
Just so you have somebody who witnesses it with you. But I think it's really powerful. It's a powerful...
It's necessary. That's what I got out of it.
Beautiful.
And it intrigued my son. We sat up and we watched it together, and I think just the way you portrayed the role and the narrative of the story, it's necessary. That's how I feel about it, and it's very powerful, and you truly delivered.
Thank you.
It's amazing.
Thank you.
I got to see it. You need to see it. But can you tell everyone what it's about?
Well, it's a little bit difficult to put it in too or succinctly, but one, it's dealing with aging. It's dealing with the male perspective of the idealized woman that we as women have bought into. And it's also dealing with the pursuit of perfection. And even more importantly, it really explores the violence that we can have against ourselves the way in which we can speak to ourselves, the thoughts we can have, the negative way in which that we can have such a depth of self-loathing. What we talked about earlier, that compare and despair, and it goes to some hardcore, but it does it in such a unique way.
Very unique way.
And and there are laughs, I'll just say.
It is. It's well-rounded, what I love about it. And watching it I'm always looking at a project from an actor's standpoint. So I can't help but to think about, like, your character went into so many deep, vulnerable places. I'm curious to know, how did you prepare?
I mean, a lot of it was, first of all, going into it with just the clarity of what were we trying to tell through this. And my personal was, there's not a lot of dialogue. A lot of it is
because a lot
symbolism,
of your scenes is by
and it's
yourself,
a lot with just
which is more challenging.
And so it was really about going into it before we ever started with the fullness of Elizabeth Sparkle, who's the character, her life, so that every moment could be as alive as possible. And I feel like I understood her pain. I mean, we're very different people, but I think we've all had those moments, like what we saw in that clip, where you are looking in the mirror and you try to make it a little better, and it just seems to get worse until then you feel so defeated.
This scene right here, like you couldn't help but to feel it and touch your heart and even relate. I really think you really portrayed that part because, like you said, oftentimes we all feel that way. As ladies, we get dressed and we get ready to go, and then you start to pick yourself apart. You really delivered that scene, that's for sure.
Thank you. And I think it's also, what I loved is that while the setting of this is about women, that it really is relatable on a very human level. I think that it's something that men and women alike will find parts of themselves.
Definitely. And that's what's relatable and human. Now, I have to say, again, I watched it with my son, and even for the youth, this is what I mean by it's so necessary because there's so many lessons in it. And we were watching together, and I said, what's the lesson you got out of this? And then he was like, to be grateful for where you are, what you are, who you are, what you have. You know what I mean? So to hear that out of a young teenage boy.
I mean, that's incredible. And that is what I would hope, is that in it, it's really deeply about self-acceptance, self-love, but accepting yourself, as your son said, where you are with who you are right now.
Yep, and it shows, and it's so powerful. I loved it. It's so captivating. Oh my goodness. And then you took your daughters to the LA premiere.
It was the first, I waited for them to see it because I wanted them to see it with a bigger audience.
So that was their first time seeing
yes.
it? Oh my goodness.
And I think they were all very proud of me. And I've been giving them a couple of days to process before we had a regroup powwow because it's definitely intense. It's intense for me because also in my character's journey, as I'm seeking that younger, better me, I then am losing at each moment the very beauty that I had to begin with.
Exactly.
And it's done, and what's so powerful in the film is that it's done in this physical manifestation of actually really degrading and deforming.
You gave it to us, and thank you